All right, thank you very much indeed for staying with us. We're now turning our attention to the Nigerian currency, the Naira, and how it seemed not to be able to stand firmly on the ground in terms of its competing with other currencies and its value, how it's been really tough for Nigerians, exchange rate, business people who import raw materials and all manners of things. It's been extremely difficult. As a matter of fact, as we speak, we're told that the Naira is the third worst performing currency in the world. And so questions about what exactly is wrong and how can we get our Naira to be as strong as it used to be in the late 70s and in the early 80s before, all of the, we had a lot of money. Our problem is how to spend our money, if you remember. They say if you know, right?
That sounds like
all right. We now have joined us virtually this morning, Mr. Bamidele Ayomibo. Thank you indeed, Mr. Ayemibo, rather, Mr. Bamidele Ayemibo, for joining us on this up.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. I'm sure that growing up, I remember how my parents were lamenting about how come that $1 is now, $1 is now $2. What's happening to this economy? Why is this economy going so bad? I remember vividly my parents were lamenting at the time. And today we talk about and over close to 2,000 Naira, 170, 176 and all of that. If you look back, how do you feel about the storyline that I just narrated?
Very sad, actually. Very, very sad. I was at an event yesterday, and day before yesterday, and I was talking about some of the things Nigeria used to produce, and I was telling them about Sanyo TV in those days. That TV that you have to close the door, and they're produced right here in Nigeria, and just talking about the same thing. And this at the time where this was 1980, where we were producing all this stuff in Nigeria, and as a result of that, we had all the FS coming in and less demand for FS, even though we are doing a lot of export, and that took us to where we were at that time in terms of being able to have that kind of value of Naira that enables us to be able to have a Naira to $1. At some point, Naira even been better than dollar. I remember in the Southwest, when you hear, there's a way that when Naira was £2, when 2 Naira was £1, you will hear the way we call it, even till now, some old Southwest people will still call it using something pound, if you understand what I mean, from Southwest. So, it's sad, actually. But here is where we are, and we need to solve this problem.
Yes, Ayemibo, very sad place we find ourselves as a country. Which is, it has brought us to where we are today, literally on our knees. We just finished the conversation around the exiting of multinationals from Nigeria. And all of this comes with huge implications for the bigger economy of our country. In the last two weeks, the local currency has seen the largest fall, plunging to a record low. As at yesterday, at the end of trading yesterday, the dollar was being sold, was being bought at 1,700 Naira or thereabouts, which is a far cry from where we want to be as a country. Help me understand what you think are the real issues here, because everything seems benchmarked on the value of the Naira at the moment, which is the dollar. Are we raking in enough dollar to shore up our foreign exchange and to ramp up our dollar demands? Because that in itself seems to be like a very major challenge for the value of our Naira at the moment.
We're not. I was reading the news or the report around the fact that Naira is the third worst performing currency. And when I saw what the government particularly, I saw the message of the Minister of Finance, and I noticed many people talking, unfortunately, and you can perceive what the government people are doing based on what they are telling us. The focus seems to still be on crude oil, and the Minister of Finance was saying that the sure way to grow the value of Naira is to increase the crude oil production, which is not out of place. The question I'm asking is, why is it that it's only crude oil we are focusing on? Because it looks like we are not looking for other way of solving this problem. We are looking at only one way. There are countries that do not have crude oil, and their currency is better than Nigeria. So why is it that we seems to be finding it difficult, or not looking at, I won't say we find it difficult, not looking at other options, just focusing on crude oil? So when I heard that Minister of Finance saying that, it just speaks to me the reason why, because I've been concerned about the fact that nothing has been done as far as non-oil export is concerned. But now hearing that again is confirming. And when you look at the IMF report, I mean the speech given at the program last week that IMF official gave, he was talking about the need to diversify and the need to consider non-oil. So it doesn't, I don't see the action plan of the government right now on it. And the fact that the Minister of Finance is mentioning crude again shows that it doesn't appear there is a serious plan, apart from the little that NEPC is doing based on the resources he has, that the serious plan of the presidency as far as non-oil export is concerned.
Right. I like the fact that you have taken this conversation to the issue of diversification of the economy. And maybe, just maybe, I want to disagree, because over the years we have seen governments after governments talk about how they are very serious about diversifying the economy. And I mean, from the Obasanjo-led government to in between Aradua, Jonathan, and then to Buhari, there were lots of investment. Particularly, I remember when the current the additional was the Minister for Agriculture. There was lots of investment. So and we thought that would be sustained. So is it really a matter of not diversifying or making attempts to diversify the economy, or is it that we're not being able to put in place a sustainable process, to consistently earn revenues and strengthen our currency from other aspects of the economy apart from crude oil?
Now, if we are diversifying the economy, if we're really serious about diversifying the economy, what we'll be doing is different from what we are currently doing right now. What has been done in the past, when you look like, when you do things as like more like cosmetic activity, not really going deeper into solving the real issue or the real problem. For example, if we want to diversify the economy, the first thing we must do, I'm talking about now diversifying it towards non-oil export. The first thing we must do is to let the people know, increase advocacy towards export. Government is not the one that will do the diversification. Government will lead diversification and increase advocacy, and then create incentive that will make businesses to take it upon themselves to take advantage of the opportunity you are providing in that space. So you are saying, if you invest in this sector of the economy, this and this and this are what you are going to get from the government. These are the tax relief, these are the grant, these are the support you are going to get. Government should know, the government should create the environment, increase the awareness, and then get businesses to begin to consider it because of what they will get. Give them a safety net. If you export and you have issue with your export, you can claim an export credit insurance. Support Nexi to be able to do that kind of export credit insurance. Increase the rate at which you guarantee their shipment. Support the same thing countries that are serious about diversification is doing. So I'm talking about here now, in terms of non-oil export, we have not done enough as far as I'm concerned. I'm putting in place, a government and another one coming should not stop it. Whatever you are going to do to diversify, make it a law. Create an agency. There are agencies that can even handle. NEPC is there, NIPC is there, Minister of Trade is there. That will be able to continue it even when the government is gone. So we really have not done what we really need to do. So if we really want to do it, first of all, we must increase advocacy. Nigerian businesses must begin to see the need to do it. And there must be incentive to encourage them to do it, because they are the ones that will do the shipment. If we are going to wait for the crude oil on, it's like, and the people that are sabotaging the effort of government in crude oil knew that, they can control the government, they can manipulate the government, they can influence government decision if they deal with this particular area of the economy. And that's exactly what is happening. Why are we not looking at other areas and do what we need to do to make those areas work?
You know, it's really sad when you mentioned exports. I had the privilege sometime last week of looking at the guidelines for exports and how much of a bottleneck that is being put as guidelines for exports. And you begin to wonder why Nigerians are indeed not exporting. Because, I mean, who would not want to export, knowing fully well that you can generate some foreign exchange from exporting? But the bottlenecks are enormous, which I think is something that government should also begin to look at the guidelines for exports, make it easier. You did talk about some form of subsidy or, you know, to encourage exports. However, I'm very concerned about this issue of IMF. Nigerian government, the Central Bank of Nigeria, as long as I can remember, have often tried to support the Naira in the FX market. Just this morning we hear that the IMF is asking the federal government to stop, the CBN to stop ad hoc auction of dollar. I don't know what you think, how this would impact this staggering, very unstable market that we have right now. If this CBN stops auctioning of the currency, how do you think this will impact the value of the Naira in the future?
CBN is actually not even intervening well enough, and the reason is because they don't have enough. The reason where MF is advising them is because they need to build the reserve to be able to grow the value of Naira. That's basically why they're advising them not to do that. But that also has its implication, because that means it will also drive up inflation, because shortage of FX will mean increased exchange rate, and of course that will also drive up inflation. Cardoso's job right now is not a job to be envied. It's in a very difficult place and have to take some very tough decisions to be able to achieve its objective. So IMF is advising on what they need to do. For me, you know, some of these things is like they are giving the advice because they are looking at the situation where we are in. It's just like the way they also advise that, look, diversify the economy into non-export, but while you're also ensuring you keep manage the inflation, and that will mean increasing MPR like they've been doing, it will mean that people are going to suffer, and they are recommending, look, you need to create a safety net for the people. So I think whatever CBN need to do to tame inflation and also to ensure that does not need to be done. But when this is done, there's no way, these are hard choices that will be made. There's no way we'll make those choices and it will not affect the people. And that's why the need for safety net becomes necessary. Such that at the end of the day, support is given to the most vulnerable in society to be able to manage themselves through this period and be able to, at the end of the day, being able to at least meet their basic necessities. So what they're advising, they have a reason for it, even though I have my view about it. The real issue is CBN does not also have the enough effects to even be able to make available in the market because of the fact that we are not exporting enough, particularly the crude that we seem to be focusing on right now.
All right, thank you very much indeed. While you are still here, let's quickly bring in someone else to join in this conversation. Dr. Vincent Nwani is an economist and investment specialist. All right, so Dr. Nwani, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, so I'd like to have your perspective on this conversation around the value of the Naira and how it has been fluctuating and how it has affected businesses negatively, even individuals, people who have children abroad, who have to pay school fees. It's been such a huge problem. Everyone talks about foreign exchange and the value of the Naira now.
You can't even exhaust the conversation. You know, we've called it the big elephant in the room. Some are calling it the hydra-headed monster. You can call it anything because, again, it has the most single disproportionate impact on the socio-economic, even the political system in Nigeria. You know, so if we want to start describing the impact of fluctuation of our currency, we may not leave this program, but just to see how this fluctuation flows into the prices of petroleum products and how that translates to the ordinary life of Nigerians. You will agree with me that we just need to fix this problem. We just need to fix this problem. You know, because we've tried the floating of the FX, you know, willing buyer, willing seller, whatever you can call it, you know, allow the forces of demand and supply to determine the rate. As we speak now, we don't even know the floor. The World Bank or the IMF came out last week and said, yes, the Nigerian currency is beginning to show a sign of stability. How much that is correct, especially for those of us operating in this economy as economic agents, remains to be seen. You know, but at this rate, I'm aware that on the street now it's over 1,700 per dollar. The official market, or 1,670. You know, as at yesterday. You know, this is a price as low as 560 early last year, 2023. You know, so the currency have really lost value over 300% in the last 1 year. And it's having an extraordinary impact on the lives of Nigerians, be it in the payment of foreign school fees, be it in the payment of raw materials. You know, companies are shutting down, you know, at an increasing rate. Few months ago, we've seen so many companies, about 10 multinationals that left Nigeria. You know, the two major reasons they gave why they left Nigeria is that they cannot manage FX problems again. You know, some of these companies that left or scaled down, they've been in Nigeria over the last 100 years plus. The PZ of this world, the Unilever of this world. You know, so these companies have faced different economic challenges and business cycles in Nigeria. But this one, they can't deal with it. And we know the impact of this. You know, in one of the reports I published about 2 or 3 months ago, we were able to establish that the exit of these companies impacted Nigeria in different ways, especially the investment or the output impact, costing us about 94 trillion over the last 5 years. It's 9 months. You know, the companies that have to shut down or scale down operation because these companies left, about 600 companies, 5 million jobs at risk. These are the impact of the FX crisis. So if multinationals have now told us, even if the IMF is telling us different things, that this is the major reasons why they are leaving the country apart from insecurity that they've been dealing with, then something needs to be done. Something needs to be done. Because of the FX challenge, we've seen inflation grew from 18% over the last 18 months to 32, 34 from NBS publication. Yeah. And we know the impact of inflation in the ordinary lives of Nigerians. So these are the challenges. 17 states in the north have been in darkness over the last few days, and we're told that the darkness will linger over the next 14 days at the minimum. And if you ask detailed question why the darkness, you find out that the cost and the processes of importing the materials needed to revamp the transmission line is actually one of the major problems. So we can keep on counting, but the solution is simple and lies with the federal government, especially the Central Bank of Nigeria, to look at it and check whether the strategy is working and see what they can quickly tweak, because we can really not continue like this.
Yeah. Dr. Vincent, I'm happy at how you landed the conversation that government should revisit the strategies and see if it is indeed working. But from all we can see, it doesn't seem like it is a working strategy within the FX market. I did hear that even the IMF again is asking the central bank to desist from its auction. The auction says it's not a sustainable way to support the country's currency. Do you think the Naira is getting enough support like it would need? We have tried the willing buyer, willing seller initiative, it didn't work. We have tried floating the Naira. We still cannot find its value yet. Do you think the Naira is getting enough support or intervention that it should be getting? Or what is the way out for you for the Naira?
You are throwing the question back to me. I landed in my first intervention by saying that the central bank have
lost signals there. We're hoping to reconnect with Dr. Vincent. It's important we get his perspective on this, on the question I just asked him. Hakeem, the last caller, Ayemibo did talk about the fact that I hope it's still...
low-hanging fruit.
Okay.
So the low-hanging fruit is for interventions to continue to bring back the confidence in the system. It is a lack of confidence in the FX market and the financial market, a lot of arbitrage, a lot of vested interest that has continued to hit up this market.
So what will be the strategy? What strategy are you suggesting should be employed at the moment?
The strategy, the quick win, the low-hanging fruit, is intermittent intervention.
No, we don't have enough.
This is a strategy that the past administration have used, at least, to keep it at a moderated, convenient threshold.
Oh, all right.
All right, thank you very much. I'll come back to you, Dr. Nwani. Let me turn now back to Mr. Ayemibo. The other leg of our conversation is actually tax reform, the proposed tax reforms that we're seeing, and I think it's already a bill, after all the work that the tax committee has done, and questions about what exactly is it meant to achieve, and some people, particularly northern governors, traditional rulers from that axis, are rejecting, some provisions of that bill, the tax reform bill. What do you make of the introductions that we're seeing in the new bill and the tax reform that have been proposed by this government?
All right. I think the major challenge is the fact that taxes in Nigeria, the tax net in Nigeria is not yet wilding enough. Increasing tax on people who are already paying is what I don't think should be done. I think it's a lot better, which is what the government are trying to do, is to ensure that we extend the tax net to those that are not currently paying, and which is the whole essence of having having the NIN, having the BVN, so there are not data available to be able to check and be able to know who are those that are not currently paying taxes and get them to pay, rather than increasing the taxes. It's just like the issue we have with the petroleum product, removal of subsidy, in which petroleum products is being moved across the border to other part of the country. Now, to other countries rather, and it's like we are subsidizing other countries. Now, rather than the government stopping that, we remove subsidy, which some other country will do for their people, reducing the impact of inflation on their people because they give them subsidy. Now, so the government removed it because they could not solve that problem. But the reason for voting politicians into office is for them to be able to help to solve the problem. So rather than transferring I'm not able to solve problem I hire you to solve, then I'm suffering for you not being able to do the job you were hired to do. That's the way I see this tax bill. Increasing taxes at this point is not the best for us as a nation. Rather, to widen tax net to get those that are not paying to be able to begin to pay. That, I think, is a better way to go.
I've also been an advocate for the fact that given to the fact that many Nigerians are falling below the poverty line, this whole conversation around taxes could mean taxing poverty, which will amount to almost zero. But the feelers I get is that all the proposals being put forward by the Fiscal Committee on Taxes of the opinion that the poor should be let off the hook of taxes, while focus will be on the elites to increase taxes on luxury goods and all of that. But then let's look at this whole new derivation model for VAT distribution in the new tax bill, which governors in the north are uncomfortable with. Help me understand what the tax process is like right now in terms of the VAT and and how it is being shared across states, across the federation, and what this derivative policy hopes to achieve. Because I mean, a lot of people have the opinion that there's lack of equity in the sharing formula for VAT.
Sorry, I didn't get a question.
Okay, so let's look at the whole. Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so there is a bill. There is a bill proposing a derivation model for VAT. It's in the House right now, talking about distribution of the new VAT bill, which northern governors are crying foul about. I don't know if you are aware, if you have an understanding of that bill at the moment. Help us understand why they are crying foul.
Oh, because if you use the derivation principle, it's going to be a challenge for states where they are not getting VAT. You know, a number of state governors currently budgeted based on what they expected, looking at what they got the previous year. So, but if you look at the derivation principle, it means that I'm going to only get a share of VAT based on the amount coming from my state in terms of percentage contribution from my state. The implication of that is, if you're going to do that, maybe we should give some time, maybe 2-3 years, so that it's easier for them to plan. Because if I already get this amount of income last year, and based on the projection, we're expecting this amount this year, and we're budgeted based on it, and then you're going to change it, that might be a challenge for that. That will be a challenge definitely on them. And the fact that they already budgeted based on this. But the fact is that, in my opinion, it's a good way to go, because it will help them to develop their economy and eventually be able to generate more tax in those states. But that should not be, probably give a little more time so that they can also work towards increasing whatever they need to do in their state to be able to increase economic activity and not be able to get those taxes. But because they already have planned towards this money, there will be a challenge. And that's exactly what I think is happening right now.
Let me turn to Dr. Nwani, because I'm particularly interested in the aspect, that talks about some kind of increase in the VAT for luxury goods. And I think that's quite, that makes some sense, isn't it? Because if you ask yourself, a lot of Nigerians really can't afford basic things. Now, I mean, for those who can afford that and then go the extra mile for luxury goods, they should pay a little more. Doesn't that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense behind the envelope. On the academic level, it makes perfect sense. But implementation, is it possible? Can the IFRS implement all of this? They're already overstretched in implementing our tax laws and regulations that we roll out every day. The cost of tax collection in Nigeria by the revenue, that's cost of collection ratio by revenue is one of the highest in the world. So can they implement it? The goods in Nigeria, they codified such that you'll be able to trace the traceability. Just removal of import duty on food, and food importation. Up till now, 6 months going, the Nigerian custom have not been able to credibly implement that policy. Tax have been removed from CNG, oil and gas equipment recently. And we are now going into not taxing goods consumed by the poor and taxing goods that luxury goods. What are luxury goods? Where are they codified? So the implementation will take time. I'm not sure if we have the type of office or the institution that can implement that. But whatever, on the academic level, is quite an impressive proposal. It's a proposal at this stage. And talking about the northern part of the country kicking against the new tax movement by ensuring that you take as much as you bring to the table, which is just another part of fiscal federalism. That will spur people to do a bit more. But like my friend Yanobo said, probably they may need time, but that is actually the destination to go. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Vincent. We've had some We've had some concerns around some states some states governments actually contesting the initial VAT position. We've had River State contest that, and that has given River State some kind of leverage to manage his VAT going forward. Do you think that this new derivation proposal would indeed encourage states to begin to look inwards, begin to produce? Because primarily, you and I understand what the issues are with the North around this VAT. Most of the largest chunk of the VAT collection comes from VAT on alcohol. And in the northern part of Nigeria, it is a no-no that even though we hear that some people do, but they, against their religious positioning, they don't take alcohol. So how else can they ramp up VAT in the north to be able to stand at par with other parts of the country? Sharing formula.
It remains to be seen now. The basis for VAT is about productivity and consumption. And if you even look at GDP contribution by state, you find out that the Southwest, especially Lagos, somewhere in the south, in River State, will take a chunk. I don't have the data, but as an analyst, I will believe that 60+% of VAT revenue generated will be coming from Lagos and River State. And maybe Abuja. If you add these three, we'll have well over about 60 or 70%. So the moral justice should suggest that the VAT revenue or tax revenue collected from where is it collected are allowed to benefit more from those states. But these are the challenges of running a false federalism where everybody come to the center, pick, go back, spend, and come back and pick again. I think we've answered the question eloquently in the first intervention by saying that this is the way to go. All the political maneuver and negotiation have to happen behind the scene, but actually that is the destination to go. Of course, there are some moral implications. People will say, Lagos, is it not federal infrastructure that has contributed to output revenue and getting a lot of people to be able to pay this VAT? The same thing in Rivers State, the same thing in northern Nigeria. Have you done that for Sokoto? Have you done that for Abia or Ebonyi State? So that is why I say that this has to be reduced to some political maneuver, but that is the destination to go.
All right, thank you very much indeed. We have to go now. We've been speaking with Mr. Bamidele Ayemibo, who is an international business development, trade and finance expert. Thank you very much indeed for your time on the show. And also we've had Dr. Vincent Nwani, who is an economist and investment specialist. Thank you very much indeed, gentlemen, for your time on the show today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Vincent, bye-bye.